Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name's Rory Paquette. I know you know that, but I just like to remind myself of how lucky I am to be sitting in this seat, be honest with you. Folks, you have done so much for this program. When we went to 5 days, you folks stepped up. You were liking and sharing and subscribing. When we went to 7 days this past week, the DMs were through the roof. They were like, 7 days? Do you have nothing else? What's going on in your life? Oh my gosh. But you still supported us, and our numbers went up again. You folks are amazing. And if you're not out there doing what you're doing, then I don't get to sit here and do what I'm doing. So I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And hey, if you're a friend of the program, you know what comes next. That's right. We got to pay a couple of bills. So let me take a sip of my preferred beverage. Man, that is good. Oh, it's like better every time. And you know what we're drinking. That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up, check them out, see what they got. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful, just like my wife. Absolutely fantastic stuff. They do all the right things for all the right reasons, and they support veterans, which you guys all know is vitally important to us here at the Power Man Podcast. To all you folks who are veterans out there, thank you for your service. Thank you for who you are, and we love you guys. Folks, go check them out. Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Tell them Power Man sent you. Let me get one more sip of this so I can keep up with this fireball on the other side of the table from me. This guy's more energy than I've seen in a long time. He's ready to go today. All right, here we go. So, with us today, please welcome to the show, family centric business coach. I'm already a fan. Host of the Forward with Joe Pomeroy podcast. And I bet you just cracked the code. That's right. Please welcome Joe Pomeroy to the podcast. Joe, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome. And I got to tell you, with your silky smooth voice, that coffee sounds amazing. So I imagine, we could ramble on for a couple minutes here because everybody's going right to the website right now. And if they're watching on video, you know that coffee's tasting better when they're sipping it out of their Indiana University mugs. So
Oh, there he is.
there we
That's right.
go.
My IU, right there, buddy. I love it, man. All right. Joe, thank you for helping me with the promotion. I appreciate it so much, man. That's a fellow podcaster for you folks. He gets it. He knows what's going on. Joe, listen, we have a bunch of stuff to talk about, and honestly, I think you're in front of the right audience today, brother, because you're one of us already. I can tell. Tell everybody, who is Joe Pomeroy? What are you about? What brings you here today, man?
Yeah, so I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I'm a businessman that was doing well on that front and almost lost everything that mattered most. And so it took me about a decade and over $100,000 figured out. Not everybody's got that money. Not everybody's got that amount of time. I was lucky. I was blessed to be able to have that. And so now I'm just focused on helping others to speed up that process, to reconnect with their family, to have be more connected with their family than they are to their screens, and have their kids and vice versa, and all those things. So it's what I love doing. It's love talking family, love talking marriage and parenting, and all things that really matter most. So I'm super excited to be here to talk with your audience about that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. And I mean, you just said a mouthful right there in a very short time. I love it. You got everybody's attention with family right off the bat, and then you brought up Jesus, which is always a good thing on this program, and then you hit everybody with $100,000. And I bet you there are more than a few eyebrows that kind of went, "Wait, say what? What did he just say?" And they went back 10 seconds, and they're listening again, going, $100,000. You've been through it. You've got quite a story. I'm not sure where you want to start with that, man. Do you want to go back to the beginning? You want to talk about what you do now? What are you thinking here?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, it's funny because you talk about the $100,000, and it's like that's what I spent to try to save my marriage, and or well, not try, like that's what it cost to end up saving my marriage and to figure different things out.
Nice.
But man, there's a higher price than that people are paying because they don't know what to do, and because they don't know how to fit it in their schedule, or because they feel like it's already too far gone. And like I mean, who of us have seen another relationship and you can get, it's like you're like, oh yeah, I see the writing on the wall. Like I know where that's headed, and we make these assumptions, or maybe it's a business that you're looking at, and they're scrambling and they're not making ends meet and they're digging into debt, and you're like, oh yeah, they're about to go under, or whatever it happens to be. And that's kind of where things were at with my wife and I. before something finally clicked. So, but there's a much bigger price that people pay. People, if I hadn't done what I did, I wouldn't be seeing my kids every day. I wouldn't be planning family vacations. I wouldn't be cuddling with my wife after we put the kids to bed, laughing while we watch whatever movie that we're barely paying attention to. Like, that's so much more expensive. Not to mention the lawyers and the alimony and child support. I mean, that's a whole different story. But so, yeah, man, Rory, let's dive into the beginning of my story and because I want people to understand where I was at so that because I hope you all know like hey wherever you're at you're not alone and there is a path forward and so I think we can actually we're getting some of those details about things that they can start doing today that will help show them that yeah there's a better path and they can walk that so I'm excited.
Yeah, no, that's a great place to start, and I appreciate you, framing it that way. It's great to see somebody who's come out the other side. You know what I mean? Anybody can come on and tell a story about loss and tragedy. What people want to hear is, hey, this happened, but this is what I did to fix it. Because that's what gives all the listeners hope that no
Mhm.
matter where they're at, they can turn things around and change things, right? I know we want to talk about what you can do to change things. If you don't mind, maybe give somebody an idea of what happened. What
Absolutely.
kind of got you in that spot in the first place? Because I think that's going to resonate with a lot of the guys listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've always loved business in one form or the other. It's just something that's been exciting to me. I got a degree in marketing, went on to get a master's in business administration, specifically focused on strategic business. Like, I love getting into the psychology of it. Like, it just really revved me up. And so, spent the years in getting a degree, spent the years getting a master's, and then I've got my job and I'm learning along the way. And in that process, I won an international entrepreneurs competition. Um, and I was helping to build a business that would eventually hit 8 figures in an industry where most were not even hitting seven.
Hmm.
So it was a lot of things were making sense at business, but I put in the effort, right? I'd gotten that education, I'd done those things. When I got married, I read 3 or 4 paragraphs of a marriage book and was like, no, I've seen Matthew McConaughey in his movies, and you sing a little song when you're fighting, and everything comes together. It's all good, man. And whatever it was like I I don't know, like I don't think we think about that. I think, and for me. I try to do I speak. I don't want to should I don't want to should on
Right.
anybody. You should do this, and I don't want to talk for anybody. So I try to do I speak. But for me, I felt like, hey, business is easy, marriage is hard. I don't know why marriage is hard. It didn't register that it was because I'd never really done anything. I went to Sunday school. I read scriptures and love your wife, cleave to your wife, and another like cool. I was faithful, like all that. But it was hard and it wasn't making sense. And I go to work and people loved me. And I was the go-to problem solver, right, Rory? They're saying, hey, Joe, I've got this person on the phone. They're super upset about this thing that happened. And can you help me through this? And get on the call. And I'm listening. I'm having empathy. I'm repeating back to them what they're saying so they know that I'm connecting. I'm doing all these things. And by the time we get off the phone call, they're loving the company. They're leaving 5-star reviews on Google. All these good things are happening. Then I go home and my wife wants to talk to me about something and I just want to fix it, right? I just want to fix it. Like, let's look, there's a video out there. Now don't y'all go look at it now. Okay. Like just make a mental note. Don't go look at it now. Keep listening. But if you go to YouTube and search for like, it's not the nail, or it's not about the nail. Really funny video. She's complaining, she's upset, she's frustrated, her headache, it's bothering her so bad. And you just see her on the couch talking to her husband. The husband tries to say something and she's like, don't. And then as the camera pans around, she's got a big nail sticking out her forehead. And he's like, maybe if you took, and she's like, it's not about the nail. Like, I didn't know what to do. So I'm sitting there and here's the thing, Roy. If I was so good at work and everybody loved me at work, but then I can't communicate at home and I'm having all these issues at
Yeah.
home, It was crystal clear that my wife was the problem. Crystal clear, no doubt about it. Right?
Gotcha. Yep. 100%. I know exactly where you're going. Right. Yep.
Yeah. So that just made things worse because when you're looking at your chosen partner, your chosen companion, the person that you've made these vows with, you've committed to walk this life with, and everything outside of that person seems to be sailing 1,000 miles an hour, smooth as can be. And then with that person, it's difficult, it's struggle, it's hard. Obviously, that person's the problem. When you see them in that light, you no longer see them for who they are. If you view your spouse, if you view your teenager, if you view your kids, whomever, if you're viewing somebody else as the problem, then you do not see them for who they are. And that's a huge part for all of us Christians out there. That's a huge part when scriptures about God looks on the heart, not the individual, about seeking to love others and see others as Christ sees them and loves them. And when I was eliminating that option out of my marriage, how am I supposed to have light and hope and charity and benevolence and all those things that we talk about? It cannot exist when I see my partner as the problem. And I didn't realize how bad I was making it for it, to be honest. And one night we started arguing about something so important that I, to this day, cannot remember what it was.
Right.
And unfortunately, we have too many of those arguments, right?
Right.
And she was just pushing my buttons, and I was letting my buttons be pushed. And I threw a man-sized tantrum. And I just started, we were in our upstairs hallway and we had cabinets lining the hallway. And I just started kicking in one of the doors to the cabinets with my bare foot. And, I don't like admitting that. It is embarrassing, but I know that, look, men, we do stupid things. We make mistakes, like men or women, we're all making mistakes. And if we can own up to those and we can face those, it's like, yeah, that was dumb that I did that. That was embarrassing that I did that, but it's part of my story and I've overcome that. And so, whatever, here's something I hope y'all can take away is that if there's something in your past that you wish you hadn't done, make your present and your future different so that you can let go of that. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But for me, man-sized tantrum, kicking in this cupboard door with my bare foot, and the thing like splinters and stuff. I'm demolishing it. And my wife walks by me and starts heading downstairs. And once I'd obliterated this cupboard door, it was the biggest piece left was like, I don't know, it was maybe like 4 inches by 4 inches of a corner, and still kind of holding on to the hinge and everything else. And as the adrenaline goes down, whoosh, 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 adrenaline going down, boop, 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 up shoots this pain from my foot. And I look down at my foot and I've got a chopstick sized piece of wood stuck in my heel.
Oh,
And now I can feel the pain and I'm looking down, I'm trying to get it, and blood's dripping off it. I mean, pick your favorite John Wick movie, whatever, blood's dripping off it. And I like can't get it out. And I'm so focused on this, I don't realize what's happening downstairs until I start to hear the keys jingle. And my wife had gone downstairs and she'd grabbed a few of her things and she grabbed the keys and she was headed for the front door. She was done. She was done. And I mean, could I blame her? No. But at the time, all I'm thinking is, wait, what? Like, no, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, and I kind of hobble over to the top of the stairs, and she's still grabbing a few things, and I'm trying to pull the thing out of my heel, and I can't quite get it, and I'm just not processing things right. I mean, have you ever had those times, Rory, where you you're trying to process something, but your mind is split in so many different places, nothing's making sense?
100%. Can't tell if you want to be mad or upset and at who and everything else. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that's where I was, and I had this moment, and it really was like something out of the movies where everything just slows down, right? Everything just slows down, and my wife's reaching for the door, and the thought comes to my mind, "What do you want, Joe?" What do you actually want? And in that moment, I started to remember when my wife and I were dating and all the trips that we talked about. I lived in New Zealand for a couple of years. And so we talked about going to New Zealand, and I'm picturing these beaches that I'm familiar with, these hilltops that I'm familiar with, and being there with her, right? And going, in my mind is this image of me at some beach in Fiji. Apparently, I love the beach because it comes up a lot. But yes, I do love the beach. We're at this beach in Fiji, and my wife's sitting under, the wicker umbrella or palm frond umbrella thing on a working on her tan, and I'm leaping out of the water like a sea monster, and my kids are laughing hysterically. Like all these things, these images run through my mind of what I thought I was going to have in my marriage. And I realized what I wanted was still all those things. And I wanted them with her. And I knew I had to say something. And in that moment, right, man of words, I'm the go-to man, I'm the problem solver. So of course I said something super eloquent. The words came out just right. I'm like, dear sweetheart, my one true love and everything. No, it came out something to the effect of, Roy, it came out something like, wait, stop, please. Wait, stop. Like that was it. That was all I
Yeah.
could get out. You ever had one of those moments where you so desperately want to say the right thing, but it's not what comes out?
Yes, for sure. I think a lot of people listening are going, yep, been there.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes we don't even try because we know that might happen.
Right.
And so we don't try. But if we'll at least try, even if it comes out ugly, right? In business, we talk about start ugly. Don't wait till you have the perfect product, right? Get your MVP, your minimum viable product, right? It's true in business. Why not true in marriage? Why not true in communication? It came out ugly, Rory. It really did. It came out ugly. But my wife stopped and I said, please don't go. I need help. And at the time, I was probably thinking most about that chopstick stuck in my heel. And maybe that's all she thought I was talking about. But in my heart, I knew I needed more. She closed the door. She came up, and now there's a little pool of blood on the carpet on her stairs. And she says, what? What do you need help with? And I said something to the effect of a lot of things, but right now, the stick in my foot. So she helped me pull it out. And then we both just kind of sat next to each other at the top of the stairs, not touching each other, not looking at each other. And it was kind of that, okay, what now? And in that moment, I made a commitment that she was no longer the problem. I made the commitment as well, though. Here's the thing, I was not the problem. If you look at yourself, okay, earlier we talked about if you're looking at your partner, your spouse is the problem, you can't see them for who they are. If you see yourself as the problem, if I looked at myself as the problem, Rory, am I seeing myself for who I am? Am I
Mm,
seeing myself as
no,
Jesus sees me?
not at all.
Not at all. So, how are we supposed to grow? How are we supposed to have hope? How are we supposed to believe that we can do something? And in that moment, I committed that there was a problem. There was a problem. And I would do whatever it took to figure it out. And now that perspective shift, that's something everyone can do today. You are not a problem. You are not the problem. Your spouse is not the problem. Your teenager is not the problem. It simply is there is a problem. And that means there's a solution. And when we can stop seeing ourselves as the problem, we can step outside the situation and begin working towards that. And that night is what started my journey. Now, to fast forward a little bit, we went to group marriage workshops. We went to uh, like 3 day workshops, 6 week workshops, courses, individual counseling, marriage counseling. I was getting involved in all the personal development stuff that I could. We were doing all the religious things of if you just pray harder and if you only have more faith. And we're trying to doing everything to fix it. And about 3 years had gone by and things were improving, but we were still stuck. And one night I'm sitting in this group with a bunch of other men, and most of them were business owners. And this one guy goes to share something. And Rory, have you ever had where you already know what somebody's going to say? Like before they even start talking, you're like, oh, I know where this is going.
Of course,
You ever had
absolutely.
that? And what's kind of your attitude? What's kind of your attitude when that happens? What are you
Here
thinking?
we go again. Here we go
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. So this guy starts talking. It's her turn to share. And man, I sure wasn't seeing him as God saw him. That's for sure. I was like, oh. And he says this, makes the same complaint about what's going on. And so I just raise my hand and I go, hey, what would you do if this was your business? And he goes, oh, that's easy. I do da 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 da. And I'm like, okay. But inside I was doing that. You can't do that outside. You're not going to be welcome back to the group, right?
Right.
So I raise my hand again and I say, why don't you do that in your marriage? Oh, Joe, you can't treat a family like a business, and oh, no, no, this is my wife, and I'm not the boss, and whatever is going on. I don't know what he said because in my mind there was like this click, and it went, Joe, you're trying to live two separate lives. You're trying to approach life in two completely different paths. I earned a marketing degree. I earned an MBA. I was spending at least 40 hours a week in business, studying, testing, trying, learning, growing, iterating, all of that. At home, well, we said prayers before we went to bed, and we went to church on Sundays, and we talked a little bit at dinner. And most nights during the week, she was going to a class or I was going to a workshop, all to help improve each other. But I wasn't giving my family the same approach and effort and commitment and all of the things that I was giving to succeed in business. So, why in the world was I thinking that I would succeed in my family in the same way I was in business if I wasn't making the same kind of mental, physical, emotional effort? That was the second catalyst that has now driven what I do today. And I see your wheels turning. I'm super excited to hear what you have to say with that because wheels are going, man. I love it.
Just honestly, to have that revelation. This is kind of how it always happens. I think for us uh, as men, especially, is that we can't figure it out ourselves. But if we're trying to solve somebody else's problem, and it looks that simple and that easy, and then we say it, but then we never want to take that second step, which is what you were able to take, which is to say, "Hey, that sounded great for that guy, but you know what? I, I think maybe I need to take my own advice." We never want to take our own advice. So I applaud you for, recognizing you needed to take your own advice right there. That's huge.
Thank you. It's hit or miss too often with that, but I don't know if it's pride or arrogance or just plain stupidity that seems to be the only way God can get through my thick skull is to have me give it to somebody else, share it with somebody else, and then be like, Joseph, that was actually for you. And oh, okay, okay, okay.
Exactly. It's probably a pretty good, strong mixture of all of those things you just mentioned. But yeah, it's
Right.
at the end of the day, we don't take our own advice. We can
Yeah,
fix somebody else, but you did. You came up with that in that way, fixing this other guy, and then said, "Hey, maybe I should listen."
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. So from there, it took a lot of trial and error to figure out. I mean, truth be told, my wife didn't know what KPIs were. She didn't want to learn about key performance indicators. She didn't want to do a SWOT analysis. All right, let's lay out our strengths, weaknesses. What are the opportunities and threats of the environment? Like interest rates are. She didn't want to do any of that. Like this is not her thing. And so you can't. So I couldn't approach it like that, and I had to figure out what actually does work, what actually does apply. How can I translate what creates a successful business? How can I translate those principles? Because if a true principle should be true across the board, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then if I can find out what's the fundamental element of that principle and translate it to success in my home, I don't have to read a million marriage books. I got a degree in marketing. I don't have to go get a degree in family counseling. I got a master's in business. I don't have to go in a master's in the understanding the mind of a woman. Like I didn't have to go do this whole new study and element. I just had to figure out how do I take the language I already know, principles that have already been proven to be successful? And how do I just tweak them just a little to succeed at home? Have you seen those reels where they're language reels and they'll have someone that speaks like English and Spanish and French and a couple other languages, and one person that speaks German? I don't speak, I barely speak English. So I definitely, so I apologize. I'm not meaning to offend anybody when I say words wrong, but it's like for telephone. And the English person's like, telephone, and the Spanish, telefono. And then they go through it. And then the German is like, and whatever. And it's like completely different, right? It's not even close. And you're thinking like all these other languages, like six of them are right. So like just tiny tweaks with each other. And then the German is just way off in no man's land. And sometimes I think that's what we assume the difference is between how business works, how family works, how health works, how finances work. We assume that they're completely different languages, but they're not. They're all founded on the language of God. All truth belongs to God, which also means He is our source for understanding that truth. And that can be then through seeking Him out. And more importantly, as men, seeking each other out to get that guidance. Rory, that's why your mastermind's so powerful. I know you're doing those things for the men that are part of what you do, that are involved in your mastermind. Y'all, if y'all just listening to Rory's podcast, like get involved with him. The things you're doing are incredible. So, and it's that opportunity to say, hey, if somebody's already learned how to translate that, I don't need to go get my own Duolingo account. I don't need to go get my own Rosetta Stone. I'm just going to go talk to Rory. I'm just going to go talk to Joe. I'm going to learn what they've figured out, and I'm going to move forward faster.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you for that. Appreciate it. A little shout out. But, you're 100% right on everything that you're saying. I think a lot of guys out there right now are going, okay, I get it. I get it. You treat your marriage like it's a business. Okay, cool. She's not going to want to do that.
Mhm.
She's not going to be on board with that. So, Joe, how do you get, your wife on board with this idea, right? And I'm sure that that's going through a lot of minds. So
Mhm.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, just connect with my people here, right? Mentally and go, so Joe, did you get your wife on board? Or was this one of those things where you handled it sort of yourself and then changed how you delivered that message, to your wife?
That's a great question. I love that. There's an industry that takes things from I have no clue what you're talking about to, oh my goodness, I have to have this. I must have it now. It's the entertainment industry. And you think about what movies might be coming out here shortly that I think at least at the time that we're recording this, there's the last Mission Impossible movie that came out recently. And whether or not people knew about it or whatever, like Tom Cruise is everywhere, right? He's showing up everywhere all the time. He's talking about the movie. He's talking about why it's so great. He's talking about what he's doing in it. He's talking about why people are going to love it. He's talking about why they're going to see it before anybody else so that they don't lose out on the spoilers. You've got old school billboards that are going up. You've got social posts. You've got other people talking about it, getting excited about it. It's, red carpet premieres, all these things, right? All the bells and whistles and shiny things that make us go, oh, there was another Mission Impossible? I don't even, wasn't there like three and then it stopped? I don't even, what are we at now? 47? And to going from that to be like, I'm sorry, it's the same plot, right? Well, first of all, everything's the same plot, but I digress. I digress. To going, he's right. I need to be first in line. I need to see it before all my friends. And so we look at, again, what's the principle behind that? The principle is one is exposure, two is attitude, and three is communicating benefits. Okay, those are three. There's more we could dig in, but those three. And so I needed to focus on what I could control. And what I could control was the what and how and when of my communication with my wife. What I could not control was the what and how and when of her receiving that communication. When I focused on her part of it, frustration, disappointment, never moving fast enough, or I'm not doing it right. When I just focused on what's my next thing. And that meant if I talked to her about, hey, I was thinking, well, here, let me take us just a half step back here, Rory. All businesses that scale, and if you read like whether it's the Outliers book or Good to Great or whatever, a lot of these books that are out there that talk about these
Right.
businesses, irony of Good to Great, we know a lot of those have gone under. So I'm digressing again. All right, keep me focused, Rory. Keep me focused, my friend.
Stay with me, Joe. Here we go.
So in that book, but when we start looking at those things, like businesses know their vision, they know their values, they know their why. So that's where we're going to start. Okay, vision, values, why. There you go, y'all. Big secret. That's where things start. Vision, values, why. If I go to my wife and I say, hey, baby, let's create a vision for our family. If you look at Walmart, here's their vision. She's like, I don't want to be like Walmart. All right. If you look at, the Nordstrom, here's their, like, it, she's not going to want to do it. So I had to figure out, how can I communicate that? Well, remember that night on the stairs? What was
Oh, yeah.
it? What was it that came to my mind? Remember what I said there?
Yeah, it was well, what do I want?
Yeah.
What do I want in my life? What do I want? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, that's me putting you on the spot since I know you're going to put me on the spot later. So touche, my
Hey
friend.
man, it's all right. It's all right. I appreciated that. I was like,
Yeah, no,
oh,
I,
hey, all
I
right, that's good. What did he say? It's
yes, where he's listening. I love it. Um, so yeah, it was, and what do I want? And I started remembering these pictures, these images of ideas of how I thought my wife and I's marriage would be. And so I said, hey babe, you remember when we used to talk about going to New Zealand? Like, would you want to do that just us? Or like now that we've got we get someone to watch the kids? Or do you think that'd be like a big family thing? Oh, now she wants to talk about it, right?
gotcha. Yep. Hmm.
So now she talks about it and I can leave it there or I go jot down a quick note, right? Sticky note, doesn't even matter. We have a whiteboard in our kitchen. Put it on that, doesn't even matter. Get a permanent marker and write it on your wall. You can paint it over later. It doesn't matter. Unless your kids draw on the walls, and then you might want to set a different example. So, quick sticky note: family trip to New Zealand, visit Piha Beach, was a black sand beach. It's beautiful. Highly recommend it. Piha Beach, some other beaches that are my favorite, Lake Taupo, some other things we put on there. And then I stick it on our bathroom mirror. And guess what? We've got a vision. We got one piece of it. And she starts seeing it. She's like, why'd you put that up there? Oh, we were talking about it. I just thought it sounded really cool. And sometimes we forget about those things. So we put that up there. Hey, would you be open to sitting down and writing down some few more ideas? Okay.
Nice.
So that's how I had to start doing it because I didn't have an SOP,
Yep.
businesses, standard operating procedure.
Procedure. Yep.
Come in, here we go. We start at the top, step by step by step. I didn't have any of that. So I had to kind of figure it out. Well, what do you do when you have kids and you want to get everybody on the same page? So, but that's something y'all can go do today, right? That's something everybody can go to do today. Rory, you have to shoot me a message here later today and be like, Joe, here's a picture of my sticky note that I did with my wife. Actually, that might be really cool. You've got a whole bunch of people in your group. Like, how cool would that be if everybody in your group started posting pictures of that? Like,
Be
that'd
very
be
cool.
awesome,
It's
right?
a great
Everybody
idea.
starts putting
Yeah.
that up there. Yeah. So, again, another reason people want to get in that group with you. So, just really, really cool putting those things down. So, that was one way. Now, with the values, being like, hey, so we've got these things. We've got this New Zealand trip. We've got the Fiji trip. We want to get, a fifth wheel trailer and kind of travel around. I'm in the Western U.S., Southwestern U.S. Well, man, I want to go up and I want to see some of the canyons in Utah, some of the mountains in Colorado. Like, how cool would that be? And we've got these ideas that are coming together. And then once we have a handful of those ideas, hey, for us to be able to do that, what do we need to be doing right now? What are some things we can work on right now? Well, if we're going to survive in a fifth wheel, or if we're going to survive a 13-hour flight to New Zealand, we need to get a little better at not pushing each other's buttons. Oh, okay, cool. So what would be like the reverse of that? Instead of let's not do this, what would be the reverse? Well, let's just being kind. Awesome. You know, my little sticky note. And we to be kind. I like values that just start with be. Be kind, right? And sticky note. It's one of our family values. Y'all can go do that right now. Now, Rory, I've got a whole system that does all this stuff. I've got the guidelines, the checklist. I have scripts written out of things that people can say. I've got all that, but look, that like, man, y'all just go get these wins. Just go get these wins. Rory, if your people just go and they start doing that thing and they write on a little sticky note and they put it on their mirror and they see that, like, y'all can win. You can do this. Society, if you think that there's some big government agency or some big organization that's trying to keep you and your family separated and divided, you're right. Government doesn't want us together. Government wants divided, uh, uh, distracted people. Agencies profit through pain and division. They don't profit from independent, strong thinkers. They don't profit from a family that can come together and say, hey, all that stuff that happened in the past, that doesn't define us. Here's who we are. So I overcame it. And we haven't even, Rory, we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg of all my shortcomings. Like I told you all about my man-sized tantrum. We could go on for another 45 minutes and I'd barely, and we'd still be scratching the surface of a lot of the issues that I brought to the table. But you know, and I know that Christ descended below all things. He didn't just descend to my biggest weakness or my darkest moment. He descended below that so that he can lift us up. And he can do that today. And it can start with a sticky note on your mirror.
Love that, man. Absolutely love it. You've mentioned that several times, talking about your faith and, Jesus and whatnot. Clearly, that's a vital part of who you are and of your business model. You seem to be weaving that all together. So where does that come from? Is that something that you were raised with? Is that something that, you found later on? Something that hit you when you had, something sticking out of your foot? Where does that? Because it's great to see someone who's not only willing to talk about it, but who's willing to pronounce it, to just announce it to the world and say, hey, this is real. Here I am. This is me. He is him. So on and so forth. It's refreshing for me to hear. But that doesn't just happen. That comes from
No.
somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was raised in a Christian home, but I think just because we're born in a Christian home doesn't mean we're converted to Christ. Like look at Peter and the other apostles that were walking with Christ for years. And then he says, when you're converted, strengthen your brethren. It's like, oh, well, how are they not converted? Look at all the miracles they've seen. Like, so it's different.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I ran into was I was the good kid. I was the good boy in my family. I had some older siblings that were struggling. I had a younger sibling who was having a lot of peer issues, was on the receiving end, a lot of bullying. And so he needed a lot of support and help and things from my parents. And so I was oh, Joseph, we're so grateful for you. You're the easy kid. Like we never have to worry about you. Well, what they didn't know, Rory, is that I was diving into a pornographic addiction
Ouch. Yeah.
and it was filled with shame. It was sparked by some unfortunate events in my younger years that they didn't know about either. And I won't get into those right now, but I think we all experience different things and how we respond can be different as well. One of the things I have learned over the years about addiction is that it's a codependent behavior. Codependent meaning I don't know how to deal with what's going on inside, so I'm going to use something outside myself to help me deal with what's going on inside myself. It's why too many of us might drink too much, might get involved in drugs just to numb the pain for a minute. It's why we might hide and run from pornography because if I'm looking at things I shouldn't be looking at, and that's driving away any connection to God that I might feel, well, then it's because I made that bad choice instead of I'm a bad person. Even though when I was doing those things, I felt like I am broken, I am bad, I am wrong.
Right.
And there had to come a point where I had to decide what I wanted to try to solve myself and where I wanted to look to for help. Now, everybody listening may not have a faith in Jesus Christ, may not know where that faith in a higher power is. So if you got to start somewhere, start with that huge tree outside your yard. Start with that beautiful mountain on the horizon. Just start with something that can look outside yourself. Because I promise if you'll start there, you can be moved towards your true source of power.
Hmm.
Um, so, and I'll, as a disclaimer, I know that's not always a popular thing to say among Christians. They're like, no, it's Jesus only, Jesus only. And like, I believe that. I believe that. Hey, I'm with you. But sometimes we're not ready to start there. And when I think I'm a worthless blankety blank because I'm keeping these secrets while everybody at church on Sunday and my parents tell me I'm such a good kid and I'm the easy one, and why can't all the kids be like me? And oh my goodness, Joseph, you never get in trouble. And inside I'm going, if you only knew, if you really knew me, you wouldn't even want to talk to me. And you're telling me that I have to somehow go confess Christ? What about the woman who thought, if I can only touch the hem of Christ's robe, I will be healed? She wasn't worshiping the robe. She didn't think it would be the robe that would heal her, but that's all she felt capable of doing. And so, if you need to go hike up in the mountains, man, if you need to go hike up in the mountains and you need to sit there and you need to look out over the landscape and say, this is the hem of the robe that I can touch right now, please go do it. If you will start there, just like the woman in that scripture, Christ felt it. He felt her effort and he stopped and he turned to her. And if you'll start there, then you can incorporate, you can, if you'll start there, Christ will feel you out and he will find you. And that's essentially what I had to do. I had to start with whatever piece that I could. And I'll be honest, Rory, it still is a work in progress. It was probably a lot more recently than anybody listening to me now would think that I was yelling at God. I was angry with God. I'll give you this hint. I was yelling at Grok. So it's been since Grok has been created. I'm yelling at Grok going, why did you let this happen, God? What's going on? Da 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 da. Sometimes I like doing that because I don't know, Grok gives a response and helps me process. But I mean, yelling at God and being frustrated and angry and having that conversation and feeling alone. I don't know. It's like lifting weights, right? It's nice to know the spotter's there, but what happens, suddenly he turns around to look at his phone or check something. You're like, I can't, where have you gone? Like it's going to fall on my neck, like, right? But God's always there. So it's a journey. It's something that have to be active and proactive. I feel like I may have given you too vague of an answer. Is the answer I gave you okay? Was that
It's wonderful. Yeah,
okay?
I just was curious where that came from, that sort of devout, faith. But I think that everybody gets the idea,
Cool.
so I appreciate it very much, man. Very much. I appreciate you sharing this stuff. Not everybody's willing to kind of go out there and tell their story. So let me ask you that because that's something that, some of us do. Some of us are kind of called to go do that and share our stories. What made you decide, hey, this all happened to me. I want to share all of this with whoever will listen so that I can help somebody feel like they're not alone.
I have no idea. Something's wrong with me, clearly. No,
That's
it's a
actually a great
great
answer.
question. Well, and sometimes I don't. I'm like, oh well, apparently we're bringing up the addiction thing while we're talking to Rory. Dang you, Rory! Like I know I told you I'm open book, but come on, man. No, no, not at all. I love it. I love it. Man, that's such a good question. I I don't think I can give an honest answer to saying I know what started it because I don't remember exactly what started it, but I know what keeps me going is that when I share it, one of two things is going to happen. Well, one of three. One of the things that's going to happen is people just don't care. Like, whatever. Okay.
Right.
They're neutral. They're that lukewarm. Then there's going to be the people that are like, you're addicted to pornography. What's wrong with you? Like, you're a Christian. You should know better
Right.
than to let any of that come into your life. Especially if, like, all addicts tend to refer themselves as recovering addict kind of thing. And because it's a process, it's a journey. So share the story, or actually probably more than the addiction, one more common is the bleeding on the stairs story, because that's a real pivotal moment for me. The addiction recovery is not necessarily as pivotal, but the bleeding on the stairs, and so the kicking in the cupboard. So when I say man-sized tantrum, I might trigger somebody, they might get offended, they might shut down. Okay. I can't control that. But the other thing that happens as I meet good men like you, good leaders like you, Rory, who hear a story like that and go, I I respect your journey. I respect where you've gone on. I hear that. Or I get people that go, wow, I haven't done anything that stupid. Okay. Or I get people that go, Joe, if you think that was bad, here's something that I did. And I've suddenly given them permission to open up and share this thing. Because so many of us men, when we make mistakes, maybe I know you've got a lot of veterans on here. Maybe it's I've had family. I have a brother-in-law who's in the Air Force right now. His they were actually here just visiting. First time we'd seen him in 3 years. They're over in Europe, and he's stationed there. I have another. I have a niece and her husband. They're in the Air Force. So I've got family that are in the military that are veterans, and things happen when you get deployed. Things happen when you're out on the battlefield. That then you come back and you think, if people knew what I did, if my wife knew that I went with all the guys to that place,
Right. Right.
if people knew what happened on the battlefield, what I saw, what I did, what I should have stopped but didn't, and we shut down and they closed down because we think if anybody really knew me, they wouldn't love me. And I'll tell you, that's got to be one of the most destructive lies ever. The fact is, there will be people that will hear that, will hear something and choose to reject you and walk away. And guess what? That's on them. That's on them because they don't have the mental, emotional, or spiritual maturity to process and believe that a wound so deep can be healed. And I promise it can. And the more that I share my story, the more that I share my man-sized tantrum, the more people come up and be like, dude, that wasn't even that bad. Or, man, I bet you felt pretty stupid after that. Because I did something similar and this is what I did. And now they get permission. And when I see these men, women, whomever begin to open up about things that they wish they could take back. They wish there was a different way. And they'll say, Joe, I've never shared this with anybody, but there was a time I was deployed, I was in Africa, and I was living in these barracks that were basically, this is true story. barracks, and they're like container units just stacked up on each other. And each container unit was like a housing. And this individual was deployed there and shared some things that has happened and never told anybody that. Never thought I could. I said, hey, man, I see you and I'm still here. That keeps me telling my story. That keeps me going. I imagine it's a lot the same with you, Rory, and a lot of things that you're doing and the men that you're helping. When you see the difference that you're making for these men, they and more of them begin to trust you because you're real, because you're authentic, because you put in the effort to bring on random dudes like me and interview and get to know their story. And I, when we're done here, I'm going to be done, but you're not. You're going to do some editing, you're going to do some promotion, you're going to be putting in additional time and effort to share this with your men. And you do that because then they come and they turn to you and they trust you, and it allows you to lead them to better places. So I love what you're doing. I love how you're helping people.
Thank you, man. Likewise. Well, I appreciate that answer. I really do. It's never easy for us to share that sort of thing to begin with. But I think that if you have a story, if God gives you a story, I think then you have a responsibility to share it. And I love that you're just picking that mantle up and going, you know what? Yeah, I got a story and I got to share it. So, power to you, man, because it's not always easy to keep digging, and delving into the dark recesses and talking about them all the time. Sometimes it takes a toll on us and people don't realize that, but power to you. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Really cool.
Appreciate it.
The business aspect of what you do. Tell everybody what you do for a living.
I coach people. I've
That's
got
awesome.
yeah, I mean, I've got a group on School, SKOOL, and I call it the Family Builders. And essentially, what I strive to do and what I focus on is business owners, entrepreneurs, and even people that are just business minded. They might be, in the corporate life or having a job or running a trade or whatever, but under that have an understanding of business. And you come in there, and we're going to focus on how do we translate those business principles to reconnecting your family, to strengthening trust or even rebuilding trust with your spouse, with your kids. And the sooner people get in and get involved with that, the stronger we can make that foundation. I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they're like, everybody says how difficult teenagers are and how terrible teenagers are. And it's like scary and terrifying. And they said, you know what though, Joe? I think it's because people don't do the work on the front end, like you're helping people do. And I was like,
That's enlightened.
yeah, I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. And so the bottom line is wherever somebody's at, because there's people that join the group that they are empty nesters. But because they missed some opportunities earlier, they want to go and fix and heal and rebuild some of those relationships with their kids. Besides, when you're empty nesters, you got a whole lot more time just to talk with your spouse. And so, it's going one way or the other. The group on School is actually pretty new. I moved over there from a different platform. So the nice thing about it is pretty new. It's pretty small right now. So getting a lot of individual attention and a lot of communication. But yeah, so I give instruction and guidance and help people. We focus on the family because here's the thing. I'm going to teach you how to do this stuff with your family because that's usually what's less familiar. And we're going to figure that out. And then the dirty little secret is everything you just did to build your vision with your family. It's not just a vision for your family. It's now a vision for your integrated life. Remember when I talked about I was walking two separate paths? We're not
Yep.
doing that anymore.
Excellent.
Can't do that anymore. There's just not time. So that's what I coach. I work with men and women, and I love what I get to do. Absolutely love it.
I love that. That's great. All right, man. Now I know that you were putting something out to the guys in this group, right? Something
Yeah.
that you wanted to give them. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to forwardwithjoe.com/power of man. All one word, all lowercase. Forwardwithjoe.com/power of man. I'm sure Rory will put it in the show notes and wherever else. If you go there, you'll be able to get a resource that's going to give you actionable items. We all hate those, guides or whatever that you could Google and figure out in 30 seconds or go watch something on YouTube. This is actually going to walk you through, here's something that's going on, here's something you can do immediately to improve upon that. So super valuable. It is free. Actually, that's not true. It'll cost you a name and an email. Super pricey, super pricey. No, you just enter your name, legit email, and you're going to get that for free. And it's literally stuff like, as soon as you're done listening to this, you can go to forwardwithjoe.com/power of man, all one word. You can download that. And within 30 minutes, you can be seeing changes. You can be doing things differently. You can be on that path forward and proving to yourself that you can do this and that you're worth it.
Nice. I love that end. That I say that every single time I end my podcast. That's beautiful. All right, and thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. The membership on School sounds pretty cool. You said you're new to that platform. You like working up there in School?
I do. I do. It's interesting. I like it because it's different than other platforms because it's not, well, one, there's like gamification. You can, if you're engaging and liking people's posts and people are liking yours, like I've got things set up where free stuff unlocks for you.
Yeah.
And so that's with the platform. It's just, it honestly is a different crowd. I know you're on Facebook and you've got an awesome crowd on Facebook, so I'm not dissing that at all. But I believe you've been very intentional in how you've built that and the culture you've established there. And that makes a world of difference. Not everybody does that like you. So if they're not doing that and things can get weird, you get people that are just promoting their own stuff. You get people that are in there just to complain. You
Right.
get people in there that are judging others for their journey rather than supporting. Um, and then there's all the distractions of whatever else comes up in your reel when you're swiping. You don't have to worry about that with School. So, so far I'm loving it.
That's great.
I'm not even a sponsor. So there you go. It's great. I'm enjoying what's happening.
That's awesome. All right, good deal. Good deal. All right. Listen, Joe, you have brought a ton today. You've unpacked a ton for everybody. Folks, if you are liking what this guy has to say and you're liking his vibe, I mean, go check him out. You need to work with somebody to get this stuff off your chest. Every coach has a coach. Everybody out there needs a little bit of help. If you're not getting it from me, and you like this guy, go talk to this guy. We're not competitors. This is the rising tide raises all ships type of thing. Everybody fits different with somebody else. And I encourage you guys to go check out the School thing, get the free link, go do something for yourself today. So, Joe, I appreciate you bringing all that today, man. I really do. And I love your story. I love everything you brought. But we're not done. All right. Because, you have so much going on, man, that I am sure that you got at least one more nugget for me. All right. So, as we kind of wrap this together and pull this together here, is there anything we missed? Is there anything that we talked about and you want to drive home a little more? Or is there maybe just one more, like, nugget, piece of advice, leave behind, anything like that, words of encouragement that you want to
Yeah.
leave for my listeners? The floor is yours for the last minute or two here, brother. Go for it.
Yeah. Tinfoil doesn't go in the microwave. It does not. Absolutely does not. No, I've got something better than that. Uh, we've had, man, we've talked about some serious things, right?
Yeah.
But within all of that, I'm smiling. We're smiling. We're laughing. I'm making jokes about tinfoil and microwaves. Wherever we're at, wherever what's going on, there is joy in the moment. And if you've forgotten how to find that joy in the moment, it's these kinds of conversations. It's these kinds of relationships and connections, these kinds of friendships that can help restore that. If you have forgotten how to find joy in the moment, find someone who remembers and just start ugly. It doesn't have to be pretty. My send, DM me, DM Rory, do whatever. And if you don't know what to say, I don't know what to say. Send. Just start there because there is a value within each individual listening today that combined can overpower any shadow, any darkness, any government agency, any wicked efforts to destroy the home, to destroy family, to destroy identity, we overcome that together. You're never alone. Reach out. It's all possible. And keep the foil out of the microwave, man. Things explode.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And that's great. That is a great way to, it's a mic drop moment right there, brother. All right, folks. Family centric business coach, host of Forward with Joe Pomeroy. Joe Pomeroy. Joe, thanks for being here today, brother, and sharing everything you have. It was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Rory.
You got it. Absolutely. Folks, this has been another awesome episode of the Power Man Podcast. The reason that we bring powerful men like this on here with powerful messages like we talked about today is because, we are all united in backing you on your mission to become a better protector, better provider, a better leader tomorrow than you are today, to become a better father, a better husband, a better man tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that you want to do that, as we've both said throughout this episode and beyond, is because you matter. You have value. And at some point, you just got to believe it. Until next time.